Welcome, everyone. Good to see you. My name is Anna Krueger, and I'm really excited to bring this content to you today, talking about how to create urgency so they hire you, which means they're signing that agency agreement. So I'm excited to bring this to you today. I know this is a pretty hot topic of the moment. I would love to know from you, and you can tell me in the chat box, what is your current status with your comfort? Maybe do like 0 to 10. How comfortable are you asking for the agency agreement? I'm just curious. Um, just because it will help me know in the group kind of where we are. You know, are most people comfortable asking for that, or is it perhaps maybe an uncomfortable subject? While you're doing that, I do want to introduce myself real quick and why I'm very passionate about this topic and teaching it to you today is I know a big conversation lately in real estate has been agency agreement. And I can see from the chat box, some of you are very comfortable with it. Some of you are not very comfortable with it. So you're in the right spot. The good thing is I come from a team that has always required agency. And what I learned in that is because my expectation was we do not work with someone unless they do agency. That has just always been the normal for me. And I remember the first time that I went outside of our team to an event, some sort of conference. And I remember talking to people about agency. And I was very surprised how many people were like, oh, no, I don't ask for that. I don't think people would sign it if I asked. And I thought to myself, really? You don't get agency? And I think that just speaks to mindset, right? If your mindset is agency is something that we do, it's something that we require before we work with people, and that's all you've ever known, it's not a big deal, right? And if it's not all you've ever known, it could feel overwhelming to think about maybe I need to get an agency agreement. So the point I'm making here is one of the most important things that we will talk about today. It's not the whole webinar for sure, but we will spend some time talking about mindset around getting agency because mindset, as a coach, I've been coaching this for 10 years. I've just observed the biggest factor in whether or not people get an agency is your own thinking about agency as an agent. Would you guys agree with that? Yeah, it's kind of a big thing. So I appreciate your interaction with me in the chat box to let me know where you are with that. The other thing I'll say, and this is not in any way to brag, it's to encourage you. But my first year in real estate, as part of a team, I sold 85 homes my first year in real estate. And in that process, 90% of the sellers that I had meet with us signed, and 95% of buyers signed. Average in the industry, if you're doing well, is 80. So that was well above the average. So 90% of sellers, 95% of buyers. So the point I'm making here is the strategies that I'm going to give you today, they're not just ideas that sound nice, but they're actually proven strategies that there's a track record to show that this does work. So I'm excited to jump into this with you today. There's a couple ideas that we're going to talk through. So let me go ahead and get the slides going. And you'll see at the bottom of the slide a reference to megaleadconversion.com May 1st. I'll talk about that at the end, but that is a class that I teach starting May 1st. So at the end, I'll touch on that real quick in case you're interested. Because right now, a lot of people are working on their conversion skills, especially with perception of the general public about real estate. We are facing more objections than we were a month or two ago. So that class covers a lot of that, and I'll cover that at the end of today. So let's go ahead and jump in real quick. And one of the biggest determining factors about whether or not someone will have urgency to hire you. And the first thing we want to talk about here is what is the difference between a customer and a client? So I want to hear from you real quick. You can unmute yourself. You can use the chat box. In your mind, what is the difference between a customer and a client?
The client has actually signed a buyer's exclusive.
Yep, I agree. I hear somebody else. Anybody else want to speak up to that? Or maybe it was just her background. Yeah, so a customer would be the general public. A customer might be, let's say Pam calls me, and Pam and I are talking on the phone. She saw our team on Google, so she gave us a ring, and we haven't yet met, and I'm just gathering her information about what she's looking for, but we haven't actually met and signed anything yet. So she would be a customer at that point. Once they actually sign, she would now become a client. Now, I don't think that's breaking information. You probably already have that down. But here's what I find is incredibly common in our industry. I want you to you don't need to answer me. I want you to go internal here for a minute. If I were to ask you in 10 seconds, clearly define for me, what does a customer get when they interact with you? And how is that different than what a client gets when they interact with you? In 10 seconds in your head, try to list that out. So what does a customer get? What does a client get? And how clearly defined is that? And if I had to take a guess, if you want to, you can interact with me there in the chat box about how clear are you on what do customers get and what do clients get? And just from my experience in working with agents over the last 10 years, there's not, for some of you, it is very clearly defined. But for most, it's not a very clear line. And here's the other thing I've learned. When it is a clearly defined line, can I be honest with you about it? I think a lot of you, even when it's clear, are giving too much away to customers. That is what, now I've never talked with, well, maybe I've talked with some of you one-on-one. I can't see all of you, but most of you, I'm just making a generalization. I don't actually know what's going on in your business. But again, if I had to take a guess from all of the people I've worked with in the last 10 years, I've trained over 29,000 realtors in the last 10 years. Most of them, when we have this conversation, say, yeah, I don't know the difference. I haven't really thought about it. Or if they do, I would challenge you're giving away a little too much. So let's talk real quick about what is the difference between a customer versus a client. And point number one is if you give away too much to the general public, it decreases your value. Why would someone enter into a committed relationship with you as a buyer or a listing agent if you're just giving away everything without asking for anything in return, right? And there's a lot of analogies we could make there, right? You can probably imagine the analogies we could make. But the bottom line is if you're giving away a lot of things for free, you're not holding any value for them to actually agree to work with you. So I'd love to take a moment and mastermind together. What are some of the things that customers could get? And what are some of the things clients could get? And I have quite a few ideas that I could share with you. But first, I'd love to hear from you. So what is something that you feel only a client should get? And before you speak up, I'd like to just ask for blanket for permission to coach as we're interacting here. So if I have a different perspective, if I may be allowed to share that, because my goal is to get us all as a group to see what are the values that really should be held for clients. By the way, there are elements of opinion here. So just know that at the end of this webinar, you get to choose what customers get and what clients get per what you think is best, depending where you live and the way you want to run your business. But I'm happy to make some recommendations just for some guidelines here. So let's hear from you, and you can unmute or use the chat box. What are some of the things that you think, even if I could give that to a customer, I really should probably save that for just clients?
I'm thinking clients should get your absolute undivided attention, as well as more time, more of your valuable time.
Okay, so time, and maybe how much time I'm giving them, right? I see Tina in the chat box saying vendor list and stager. So that's actually a good one. I'm curious, again, a lot of what I'm asking you today is more for your internal thinking about it, but you're welcome to speak up if you'd like. But how many of you have talked with someone on the phone, they haven't met with you yet, and maybe they're listing, and they say, yeah, I need to get my house ready before I'm ready to list. Do you happen to have a stager I could use? And how many of us have been guilty of, absolutely, I'd love to provide a stager for you. And yet at this point, they would still be considered in the customer phase, right? So that's the type of thing where usually I see tension, because people, there's a fine balance, right? We want to provide enough value that they like us and want to use us, right? So we do want to provide high quality to them before they're even a customer. And we don't want to provide so much that they don't see a reason to hire us and become a client. So I'm curious, what are your thoughts on, do we give them a vendor list? Do we give them a stager before they are signed? What's your opinion on that?
No.
No, that
No.
was quick. Tim and Carrie are quick no's on that one. Yeah.
No, because I mean, um, I have like this one seller. I mean, they asked me like, "Oh, so what could I do to, basically prepare my house to sell?" And when I started that going down that process, it was like a gut check that said, "What am I doing?" I'm like, I'm giving away like the horse before the cart. You know what I'm
Exactly.
saying?
Yeah.
And it's like you haven't hired me. I'm going to give you all my insights and all my skills for nothing because you haven't hired me. Because I
Exactly.
know I know how to sell a house for the most amount of money. I know what
Right.
it takes.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, Tim, I like how you said that. And here's the thing to take it even further, everyone. Let's say that Tim, let's say that you provide stager and some advice for this person who hasn't yet listed with you. So they're really the general public, they're a customer at this point, and they end up never hiring you and they end up listing with another agent, but they used some of your advice and then they listed with another agent. What if one of your signed buyers wants to buy that house? Could we all see that actually by operating outside of a signed agreement, I actually gave some advice to a non-client and now it could actually hurt one of my other clients that is a signed client because now they want to buy that house that I helped really get ready to get the best price, right? So that is one scenario that could run into. So it sounds like a lot of us agree, and I would agree with that. A list of vendors, a stager, things like that would be something to wait until they're actually assigned client. I see what Mike typed in. So yes, Mike, I recognize you. In another video, I talked about this, and we'll get into some verbiage here in a moment. But what I like to do if someone asks me, do you have a stager? Do you have a vendor I could use? I like to say, absolutely. That is something I can provide for you once we agree to work together. Once we meet and agree to work together. So yes, I will provide it for you. So I'm satisfying that side, but I'm also making it clear I'll do that once we agree to meet and work together. By the way, here's a little pro tip. Research shows that when you say closing phrases 7 to 13 times in one phone call, they're more likely to set an appointment with you. What's a closing phrase? Closing for the appointment. And it could sound something like, when we meet, I will go over that with you. That's actually two closing phrases. When we meet is a closing phrase. I will go over that with you is a closing phrase. So I'm not even really asking, do you want to meet? I'm more assuming, yeah, we're going to work together. So Donna, great question. When we meet, I'd be happy to provide that stager for you as well as all of our vendors that will help you get this house ready. Got it, everyone? What about if someone is not quite ready to move, but they would like to start getting a list of houses that fit their criteria? What do we think about that one? Do we do that for a customer or do we save that for a client?
I don't know. I do a lot of open houses, so I get that all the time. And in the past, I've set up a search for them,
Mm-hmm.
but I mean, it's worked some of the time. I've closed some open house buyers, but I want to get better. I mean, we're not like talking like a $200,000 house. I mean, the average price point 600,000.
Yeah.
So, it's 800,000 to a
But
million.
Tim, I want you to send me properties and I'm not quite ready to buy. Can't you send me some properties?
You know,
But
I can and I want to. Once we meet, I
yeah,
go over exactly what you're looking for. I'd be
yeah,
happy to.
yeah. Good. Okay, good.
Hey, Anna.
Yeah, and I think that's one way you can handle it. I want to share with you a way that you can actually kind of do both. David, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I would for only one reason. Well, two reasons. Number one, they can get it anywhere else. They can get it on Zillow. They can create their own search and stuff. But more importantly, I would want to set them up so they start getting stuff from me and our web page, and so they feel like that they are already working with somebody. I know a lot of agents do that, but I'm not going to have a specific search. This is going to be based off of a 3-2 and maybe 2,000 square feet. But
Yep.
if they really want us to do a concierge service where it comes to us first and we can make sure it's what you're looking for, and then we send it to you, that's when we turn the switch. That's just my opinion.
Yep. And I actually completely agree with you, David. That's how I would recommend handling this situation. So let me give you some verbiage. And again, put this in your own words. This is just an example. But if I'm on the phone with someone and say they're a year out, and we talked enough, I realize they really are a year out. This isn't something that's going to be happening tomorrow. Maybe they need to wait for a child to graduate and he's also retiring, and there's no way they're moving before a year. Like David said, I don't want to wait to start marketing to them, right? Sending homes to potential buyers is a form of marketing, and I want to stay in front of them as much as possible. So here's what I recommend that you could say something like, David, I would be happy to set you up on a search and send houses your way. Here's what that will look like is for now, I know you want 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms in this zip code. I also know you want hardwood floors with a pool and an acre lot with a fence. Okay. What I can do now is set you up on a search for 3 bedroom, 2 bath houses in that zip code. However, for the very specific search you're looking for, that's something we can do once we agree and meet and agree to work together closer to when you're ready to go look at houses. So actually, when we meet, Tim, what we can do is draw a line around the area you want to live. It's not just bound by zip code. We can actually plot out the area you want to live. Hardwood floors, acre lot with a fence. We can get really specific once we agree to work together and you're closer to moving. People are fine with that. People are fine with that. I have to say, this class, I have to think maybe you've taken classes with me before. Y'all are answering it similar to the philosophy I held as well. Most of the time when I teach this, people have not thought of that. A lot of times I hear things like, oh yeah, I put them on a search and I make it really specific out of the gate. But the thing is, a search is one of the top things that a buyer wants. So put them on a search, but don't make it so fantastic that there's no reason to meet with you. The thing that's popping into my mind was, remember in 2020 when we could do doctor appointments over the phone? That was so nice. I was really tired in 2020, probably because I was a real estate coach. That's probably why. And I felt like something was wrong with me physically. Like I was so exhausted. So I went to my doctor and got blood work. And she set up a video meeting with me and she gave me my results over that video meeting. Then she said, let's set a time to meet. And I wasn't being snarky. In all sincerity, I just said, what's the reason we need to meet? She paused and hesitated and then laughed. And she said, well, I mean, so I could give you your results, but I guess I just did that. And she actually said, enjoy not paying a copay, and basically she was like, I messed up. Enjoy a copay free result meeting with me because I just gave you everything over electronically, basically. And I thought, gosh, how true is that with what we do in real estate? So what I encourage you to do, and this would be really probably after the call, is sit down and I want you to either mastermind with others in your area or just brainstorm yourself, whatever works better for your style. And I want you to get very, very clear, what do customers get that work with me? And then what do clients get that work with me? And there should be a defined difference. Stager, vendors, a really quality buyer list, things like that. I'm going to retain and wait until they've actually hired me. Advice on pricing, of course, we're going to wait till we meet, things like that. Anything else? What other ideas do you guys have? And we're going to quickly move on because I have a few other things to teach you today. But what else would you say could maybe be a customer versus a client part of your conversation?
On listings, a lot of times when we're making cold calls, I've found with a lot of our agents, they will get on the phone with a listing and they're not ready to meet yet. They just want you to send them over a CMA.
Yeah. Yep.
Can you just email that to me?
Yeah. Nope. Now, I wouldn't say it quite like that to them. That is very common. And can I tell you, sending a CMA over email is the kiss of death. Never do it, in my recommendation. Obviously, you can choose to do what you want. But here's the thing. When we're doing a CMA, if they're not yet ready to move, that CMA is going to be invalid at another time. And even if they're moving now, if I send them a CMA, why would they meet with me? Right? Because they've already gotten what they want. What I recommend doing, and this works very, very well with someone calling in wanting to know the value of the home, is if they're not quite yet ready to move, what I like to do is say, absolutely, I'm happy to provide you with a range that your home is worth. Tell me a little bit about why you're thinking about the value of your home. And if I ask enough questions to realize they're truly just curious, this would be me. I just renovated my house. I was very fascinated to get a CMA just to see what is it worth now that I've put all this money into my house, right? Maybe you're talking to that person. What I found to be oddly satisfying for that person is to say, you know what, Pam, I believe your home, based off running some quick numbers. Obviously, I haven't seen your house, so this is a general range. Your house is probably worth somewhere between $315 and $450. Now, can we all just agree that's a laughably large range? That's $115,000 range that I just gave them. However, people are pretty happy with that. So what you're explaining is I'd have to see your house to really dial it in, but it looks like online somewhere in this very large range. It's so broad that I haven't really answered their question other than giving them some general parameters. And then what I like to say is, Pam, when the time comes that you're actually ready to move, that's when we would get a lot more specific and dial that number in very specifically for you. And that would happen once you were closer to deciding to move. Okay. Also, if someone calls in wanting to know the value of their home, very quickly ask, what's the reason you're wondering? And if they mention maybe moving, that's where you can venture into what has you thinking about moving. And I would recommend providing no range on the phone in that case. So again, if they actually do want to consider moving, do not provide a range over the phone. What you would do in that case is say, you know what, let me ask you some questions. And really the best thing to do would be for us to meet and go over pricing and things like that in person. It will be a lot more specific for you. And since you're thinking about moving, that would be the best in your best interest. So again, if someone's just looking for the value of their home, if they're not looking to move and you've really cleared that up, give them a range, but do not send a CMA. And if they are considering moving, don't give a range and set an appointment. Does that make sense, everyone? And again, you can do it how you choose, but this is what I found worked very, very well. And part of how we had those 85 closings first year in the business was we got very good at navigating. They're not yet a client, so they only get this much, right? All right. So let's go through a few more things, and then I'll open it up for questions here in just a minute. So again, some key phrases are once we meet and agree to work together, I can provide that for you. Or you could even say, you know what, Pam, that's a great question. You do need to know the value of a home, and that's exactly why we're going to get together. Okay. And again, I'm not asking, do you want to get together? I really believe in just saying that is why we should get together. It's going to be stronger for you. And then lastly, absolutely, I can do that for you. That is something we provide for all of our clients. Okay. So again, those are actually called assumptive closes if you want to be technical about it. So those phrases will actually help you set an appointment. But again, that's going to be, again, you're going to have something to say. I'll provide that for you when we get together, which means you're not providing it all for them now. So there's more things that will help you get agency, but what I found the number one thing was getting very clear on what do customers get and what do clients get and not compromising on that. And for all of you, it might look a little different, but I would encourage you to sit down and do a brainstorm either with yourself or with others to get clear on what that is. And then especially if you're in a team, I would post that somewhere and make sure everybody is in agreement. This is how we operate here, okay? So if you enjoyed today, which I hope you did, you guys were very interactive. I do want to make you aware real quick of an opportunity for more training like this. And then I'm going to open it up for questions. So hang tight one minute here if you have a question. We have an awesome class starting May 1st. This class has been around really for about 10 years, and we keep revamping it to speak to the market of the moment. And it's something I'm really excited about because we've seen a lot of people in this class report higher conversions. I just had a single mom recently message me and she said, because of your class, I have more time with my kids because I'm more easily finding clients. So I'm not at the office as long because I'm finding clients faster because my skill is higher. So if this is a class you would be interested in, it's for anyone who's interested in increasing your skill in talking to potential clients or potential clients to have them agree to work with you. So we talk through how to open a call so they actually stay on the phone. How do you make yourself interesting, right out of the gate? Things like what do we do if they pick up and say, nah, I'm kind of busy. Can you just call me later? We talk through how to set appointments that actually show up. We talk through specific language patterns to help them sign the agency agreement. Again, 90 to 95% ratio sign. And we also talk through some of the strategies. So what kinds of things are we tracking? We provide 4 different kinds of trackers for you. And basically the program is for anyone who says, I need to up my game in the area of how I talk to people so that I have better conversion. Right before this call, I had a coaching call with someone, and she said, none of my calls are really more than 5 minutes. And we spent 30 minutes masterminding. What would you say on a call to make it longer so they actually turn into a client for you? So megaleadconversion.com, it starts May 1st. And that class, again, is for anyone looking to increase your skill as it relates to talking to people. Okay. All right. What questions do we have either about the program starting up May 1st or relating to today's class? We've got about 3 minutes, so don't be shy.
Anna,
Yes.
Anna, what days of the week? How many times a week, and what days of the week, and what times is that mega lead conversion?
Really good question. So it's going to be May 1st, and which is a Wednesday. So we will meet 3 Wednesdays a month. And actually, I'm just going to pull up the website real quick, and I'll show you where to find that.
Okay.
So we'll meet 3 Wednesdays a month. However, because of conferences and whatnot, every now and then we might miss a week, but we'll make it up somewhere else. So when you click on register, it'll show you the full roster, or the full schedule right there. And then Wednesdays at 2:30 Central. Okay.
And it lasts for an hour or half hour or what?
1 hour. So it'll be 1 hour for 6 months. So overall in the 6 months, we'll have 18 sessions together, 1 hour each, 3 a month. 3 a month. And then the particular schedules listed here. Once you register, that will also be in your client portal. The other thing I want to show you is, let me just show you the portal real quick. Here's a class I'm teaching right now. If you notice, here's all the dates for that particular class. So when you register, you'll see your program loaded in here. But what I love about it is it's got each, click on it, here's the recording from that class. So I'm not gonna 1% play it long, but here's me teaching from that call opener install. So what I like about it is, say that you are in bold, or let's say that you are traveling, no issue. You can definitely watch this in your own schedule. I like it when you're live because I love the interaction, but we record it so that if you have a schedule conflict or if you're out of the office, no problem, just catch the recording in the portal. Or you can go back and watch recordings that you just really want to see again because you liked the content. Did that answer all of your questions?
Yeah. How long are the recordings available?
The total 8 months for the 6-month program. So essentially, once the program ends, you'll have 2 more months to catch anything. And then we archive the program. Yeah. But we give you workbooks and whatnot. So truthfully, if you're taking notes in the workbooks, which we recommend, you'll have the content even beyond the 8 months, but the actual recordings and whatnot will come down after 8 months.
Okay.
Yeah. And Donna, I think you asked that maybe before I explained, but yes, if you miss one, you can absolutely watch it online. 100%. Yeah. I had a client message me a while back that she was about 3 months into the program, and she told me that she was already seeing, not setting, but seeing 10 additional people per month. So it just goes to show that when you're actually implementing the content, you should see an increase. If you're someone who says, I know me, I'm not going to show up, I'm not going to take notes, don't take it, right? But if you're someone who will show up and actually participate, you'll see increase in your results for sure. Good. Tim, did you have another question?
Yeah, another question.
Sure.
Would it help me as far as I do a lot of open houses, like, and a lot of times I'm not very good as far as getting the appointment. and then also, getting them to convert as far as sign as a buyer, brokerage. Would it help me in those skills?
Yes. Yeah. The program is designed to help anyone with any lead source. So not to make it overly simplistic, but this really is what it is. Any human that you interact with that you would like to help become a buyer or a listing client of yours, this class will help with. So it really just teaches, how do I find client motivation no matter where they came from? How do I find their motivation? How do I qualify them? How do I set an appointment that they actually show up? 70 to 80% is the average for people who use the material in the class, which is where you want to be. 70 to 80% of your appointments actually show up. How do you have them sign with you? We spend 2 weeks going over how to overcome objections. So we really sat down and thought through, what is every single thing that we wish we knew when we got into real estate? And we made a big list. Everything, every part of the conversation. What do we wish we knew before we got into real estate sales? Then gave that list to other people in the industry that I considered top performing. And I said, what am I missing? Add to the list. And that is how the program became 6 months. So we didn't sit down and think, let's create a 6-month program. We thought, let's create a program that will help people be better with conversion. And it turned out to be 6 months when we put all of those topics together. Yeah. Mike, I see your question. Yes, you can pay monthly. We're not expecting you to pay for the whole class upfront. So it's $199 a month for 6 months, which for most of you, depending where you live, obviously there's different price ranges depending where you live. But for most people, if you got just one closing, that would be about 8 times ROI on the class. So I'm very confident in the material. Very, very confident. This is the material that took me from almost being kicked off of my team to being a top performer. And they asked me if I would train people. It's this content. So it's nothing special about me. It's the content. And the content is what took me from really terrible at sales to now I teach sales, and I've done this for a long time. It's truly changed my life. That's where, if you see passion, that's where it's coming from. My whole financial situation is drastically different than where it was about 15 years ago. And it's truly because of the content. Good. What other questions? I do have a hard stop here really about 2 minutes ago, but I'll hang on for another second here. Anybody else have a question about the class? May 1st sounds far away. Can you guys believe that's only about 2.5 weeks away? 3 weeks? I can't believe it. Good. By the way, it asks if you're a Keller Williams associate. This is a very common email I get, so let me address it here. You do not need to be Keller Williams to take the class, so hit no if you're not Keller Williams, that's fine. And then it will ask you for a Keller Williams ID number and just put none. A lot of people get stuck on that page, and you do not need to be Keller Williams to take the program. Awesome. If you know that you're going to take it, if you would do me a favor and go ahead and sign up now. As you can imagine, there's some back end things that need to happen to get your client portal ready. And we usually have about 40 people sign up the day of, which is awesome. But also, can you imagine the admin on that? So if you know you want to take it, if you would do a favor and go ahead and just sign up for that today, it would really help out the operations team on that side. Oh, could I show the screen again? I'm not sure which screen you mean, but this is the last one I had up. So I'll put that one up. Or Mega Lead Conversion is the website. You can watch that video to learn more. Here's some content down here. And then to sign up, just click sign up. And again, that will have additional info for you. Okay. All right. Well, I do need to hop off. I'm a tad late for my next thing, but that's okay. This was important. I'll see you guys hopefully May 1st, jumping into Mega Lead Conversion. I would love to be a partner with you. I really do consider that an honor to speak into your business and help you have more closings. That's the ultimate goal. We're not looking to just set more appointments. We're looking for closings. And that is what we'll accomplish in that class.
Thank you, Anna.
You're welcome. Thanks for being here, guys. I'll see you in a couple weeks.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you guys for showing up today.
Thanks.